Welcome to the show, everybody. Super excited to have on today David Martin. He is the co-founder over at POWR Ledger. He's going to be sharing with us some of the latest news from what's going on over there. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, just a quick, for anyone who hasn't really got into the POWR Ledger project and not 100% sure what it's about, can you just give me the quick elevator pitch of what exactly POWR Ledger is trying to do?
Sure. So POWR Ledger is a blockchain-enabled peer-to-peer energy trading platform. So what we're trying to do is give consumers the benefit of low-cost, low-carbon energy that is resilient and owned and operated by the consumers who consume the energy.
Fantastic. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. I like even practicing. Fantastic. Now, some questions that have come up.
A couple of times.
I imagine so. Now, a few of the questions that have come up about people asking different questions. Well, how's this all going to work? Aren't the power companies fighting you, for example?
Yeah, look, the world is changing in energy provision. So in Western Australia, we're lucky. We've seen, I think we've got an early view of what's happening in the energy supply industry around the world. As peer-to-peer energy, as distributed energy gets cheaper, so solar panels and distributed renewables get cheaper, consumers are more and more generating their own energy. And what that's leading to is a lower use of grids. And when fewer and fewer consumers use the grid in the way that they always have, the grid becomes more expensive, which encourages more and more people to get off. And unfortunately, the people that are most impacted are the people that can't afford to do anything about it. So grid operators now are realizing that the future for them looks pretty bleak if they don't do something to encourage their customers to stay connected. So that's just the guys that run the poles and wires. Then you've got retail companies that sell electricity, and they too start to realise that they need a low-cost path to market. So if the networks, if the poles and wires are too expensive for customers to stay connected, well, they lose the ability to sell energy as well. So a new paradigm in energy supply is required, and the peer-to-peer trading system that POWR Ledger has developed is one of the ways that we can encourage consumers to see the network more as a trading platform than just a delivery mechanism for electricity.
Fantastic. I think one thing a lot of people don't realize is that this system actually benefits everybody. Everybody can win here. The power companies can provide that backup for when it's not sunny, when it rains for a week straight. It doesn't happen a lot in Western Australia, I suppose, but I'm sure you guys get rain once in a while. And
every now and then we do run.
The line rentals thing is a really interesting aspect of it, though. I know here, for example, in Wellington, the city council actually owns the lines, or at least most of them. How does that work in Western Australia? Who owns the lines, and are they on board with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so in Western Australia, we have the major network business is called Western Power. They're owned by the state government. And yeah, I think they are on board. Network businesses realise that they're not monopolies anymore. 5-10 years ago, they were the only way you could get electricity is by staying connected to the network. Now, if you can install PV systems and batteries or fuel cells or any number of new distributed energy generating technologies, you don't need the network anymore. So networks need to change the way that they make themselves attractive to consumers. So rather than having a system where network companies just continue to build assets and then charge customers whatever the regulator says they can charge, they need to find a way of actually pricing themselves competitively or making themselves attractive to consumers. So providing the network as a trading platform or an opportunity for consumers to monetize their excess capacity, or for investors to invest in distributed generating technologies and make a buck out of renewable energy. That's how they're going to encourage people to stay connected. So, look, I think the network businesses are probably supporters of ours because we're providing an alternative way of using the network that's going to keep customers connected.
That's it, going to keep business coming, and why wouldn't they want that, right? Which is fantastic. Now, obviously, there's a lot of exciting potential partners out there to be working with. I know that the POWR Ledger team has been in contact a bit with Richard Branson. Where does he fit into this picture? Is he involved anyway still in what POWR Ledger is doing?
Richard Branson hosts an annual blockchain summit every year on his private island, Necker Island. And this year, POWR Ledger's Gemma Green, our chair, was invited to participate. One of about 30 people from around the world that were invited to participate. So Richard hosted the summit and we were there. And so, he's aware of this now very, very clearly. But we don't have any formal arrangement ongoing with Sir Richard or with Virgin. Just an open conversation that started through the participation with the NECA Summit. But from them, Bill Tighe, who is a collaborator with Sir Richard and who actually runs the summit there on Necker Island, has agreed to become our international ambassador. So we do have some ongoing relationships that were born from the Necker Island visit, and hopefully we can build on those in the future.
And now I see that Power Ledger is involved in the Extreme Tech Challenge. What are the details with that? Can you let us know?
The Extreme Tech Challenge is open to technology innovations from around the world. We were nominated for our technology in Las Vegas next year. Gemma's going to go across and pitch our technology as one of the 10 finalists. And then as a result of that, the top 3 go through to, I guess, another set of private engagements on Necker Island. So look, it's just a real honour for us to be involved. There's some outstanding technologies that have been nominated. We think we're in with a good shot because we really are looking at changing the way the world buys and sells electricity. So we think our technology is pretty novel and has an enormous global potential. But we're up there with some really, really clever technology. So we'll go along from the ride and see what we learn from the process.
But what an amazing, really just nod to your project to say, hey, you know what, we think this is so revolutionary. You're in the top 10, come along. And that's amazing. I think that just speaks volumes to what Power Ledger is trying to do, to how this concept is so powerful. And of course, to the outreach that the Power Ledger team has had. I mean, you guys are social media monsters without a doubt. You're all over the place, and that's fantastic. It helps get the message across. People know the name, and that's really, really important. Now,
I think the thing with technology, it's understandable. It's relatable from the outset. So you don't need to understand blockchain technology. You don't need to understand how solar panels actually work to produce energy. All you need to know is that if you've got solar panels on your roof and you're producing energy, then you've got the opportunity to make money from that energy by selling it to your neighbour. And when you talk about it in such simple terms, when you talk about it in terms of, a village in a developing economy like rural India, where you're saying, here's an opportunity to have low cost, low carbon and resilient energy supplies into these developing communities. People just get that. You don't need to understand the technology to understand the power of energy and the opportunity that it brings for communities around the world, whether they're in developing economies or in first world economies that are struggling with the whole issue of decarbonising their energy system. So I think that's part of the reason why we've been able to get such cut through and such attention, is that it's as a technology or as an opportunity, it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. People, it just makes sense to people.
And that's it. Simple is good. When you can tell somebody in a sentence or two, hey, this is what it's going to do for you. You've got the solar panels, you can sell it, and your neighbor's got solar panels, you can buy it and save money. Everybody wants to be on board with that. Everybody wants to make money or save money. And if you can help the world by doing it, people are even more enthusiastic about it.
Absolutely. So it's about making sustainability profitable rather than trying to make profitability sustainable.
Love it. Coin that. Put a trademark on it. I love it. That's a fantastic phrase. And that's, I think, so many business models that we're going to see come out of the blockchain space are going to work on that exact model. And that is so important moving forward to meet the challenges of the century moving forward. Because as you know, you're in the energy business. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. Now, you have been over in India recently. You've signed the deal with Tech Mahindra. Tell us why that's an important deal and what Tech Mahindra is going to kind of get out of that and what exactly all the details are.
Sure. So Tech Mahindra is a technology arm of the Mahindra Group, which is an enormous company in India. In global terms, it's a very big company. Tech Mahindra has developed a technology they call microgrid as a service. We're bringing together the best of breed technologies to support the development of microgrids, and we're providing that transactive layer to provide the reconciliation and settlement for energy buying and selling in microgrids. So the beauty of that is we're doing it in India, in a part of the world where microgrids are going to be or need to be a massive part of the energy future if we're going to provide energy services to to a booming part of the population over there in ways that are sustainable rather than repeating the model of the past.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to demonstrate in India with an Indian company the benefit of our technology, and then to be able to roll that out into other opportunities, multiple opportunities in that part of the world, is a really big opportunity for us.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of people, living in the West, we kind of don't realize what the situation's like, that people, millions, hundreds of millions of people in India actually don't have access to electricity. And that bringing on microgrids and bringing in solar is actually going to revolutionize their lives. I mean, I don't think most people could actually imagine what it's like to live without electricity. And the fact that this technology is going to help actually bring that in is massive. And of course, India is going big into solar, so it's an amazing partnership for you.
Yeah, it really is an amazing partnership, and apart from what it means for POWR Ledger to be able to participate in a process that is helping to bring energy to communities that just don't have access to it anymore, to help build economic and social development in parts of the world that have been left behind and are really racing to catch up. It's just an important thing for us to be involved in, and from a business perspective, really a huge opportunity. But from a personal perspective, it's a really rewarding thing to be able to be doing as well.
That's it. Empowering people. This is the thing, is that they've shown one of the most effective ways to actually, help lift people out of poverty is don't give them money, give them tools, empower them. They want out. They want energy. They want business. They want finance and all these different things that different blockchain companies are bringing. And one of the first things they need is power to get their smartphones on so that they can access all the other exciting blockchain stuff. So this is really foundational in that. Now,
a resilient energy supply is a cornerstone to economic development. You're right.
Absolutely. Now, the government in Western Australia, you've got a a pilot project launching in Fremantle. Can you tell us a little bit about what the plan for that is moving forward?
Yeah, so that's the part of the Smart Cities program, which is a national government, federal government funded program looking at building, increasing the amount of renewables and resilient energy supplies in cities. So we're involved in the trial with the City of Fremantle, Curtin University and Murdoch University here, for looking at how we can incentivise the penetration, the deeper penetration of renewables, and build a city that is more and more sustainable from an energy supply perspective. So our participation in that will involve the owning and installing of a large battery that will provide support to the community. And hopefully using our blockchain technology, we'll be able to fractionalise that battery and demonstrate how we can create an investment environment that incentivises other communities to invest in their own energy storage to help build and deepen the penetration of distributed renewables.
Now, obviously, I know you can't sort of, say, hey, well, this is an upcoming partner. We haven't signed the deal yet, but, look out for this. Obviously, you can't say that, but I know you're working on new partnerships. But I wanted to really ask is, what areas do you see outside of Western Australia and I guess probably Western India or India in general? Where do you see as big promising markets for POWR Ledger? Where are you trying to focus at the moment?
Look, the opportunities are numerous and varied. So in an environment like Australia, or in an economy like Australia, where we have relatively high cost energy supplies from the grid, new grid type developments are a real opportunity for us. So looking at new residential developments and working with property developers to install distributed renewables and storage in new property developments to change the way communities actually buy and sell their electricity from the outset. So that's opportunities available to us in places like Australia and in developed economies. But there's also the opportunities in places like the island nations or island communities, of Southeast Asia, where they currently rely really heavily on diesel generation.
It's crazy.
So if we encourage the installation of distributed renewables in that space as an alternative to expensive and I guess inefficient diesel generation, then there are opportunities for us in that space as well. But the opportunities don't just stop there. There are opportunities to support EV charging and rapid transit charging, and the involvement of communities in the provision of energy to support energy transit charging as well. So the opportunities are really varied, and we're looking to work on as many of them as we can.
Fantastic. And You just hit on so many good points there, and I actually remember an article about a year or so ago. The guys from Tesla actually made some small Pacific nation totally solar, so they don't have to import diesel anymore. Liberated them, you know, energy-wise. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how insanely big Australia is either, and how you have these tiny isolated communities very far from where the actual energy is produced at, and you got running lines for hundreds of kilometers, and it's a crazy situation. You could change all that, and you could actually make these people, instead of being a, you know, fly-spec town in the middle of nowhere, you could actually be, well, that's actually where I'm going to charge up my car, because they've got EV charging stations there. So
absolutely, and the EV charging stations are actually being charged themselves by the people who live in the town, so they're able to monetize it and build on their own, the town's economic development by, you know, providing those sorts of services. So I think what you've hit on is really important. Being able to engage the community in the installation and the generation and then the monetization of that energy is really important, because the investment happens in the community, the return on that investment comes back to the community. And you're not just then getting a benefit from the energy itself, you're getting the benefit of the value of that energy that can be, you know, can be used to grow economies in local areas.
That's it. You know, if you've got that EV charging station there, car's going to stop, they're going to get out, have a coffee, buy lunch, get back in their car, and off they go. Exactly. And it's such a big beast when you look at it. You just imagine the situation before. You have a truck leaving from Port Elizabeth, going deep into South Australia, 500 kilometers, drop off the diesel, come back. It's just, it's crazy. This is a massive streamlining of the way our energy works. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your roadmap moving forward. What do you see as the big opportunities and challenges moving forward for you?
So the big opportunities, I think, are the ones I've touched on earlier. So new models of property development, microgrids in developing economies. You know, they really are the big opportunities for us going forward, in concert with the sort of the opportunities that we're accessing now. So supporting strata developments and commercial strata developments. The challenges going for us really are conceptual challenges more than anything physical. So the regulatory frameworks that current energy systems operate under just don't contemplate peer-to-peer energy trading, not because it's a bad thing or it's counter to anything that currently exists. It's just that the technology hasn't been available before. So now we need to continue to work with our regulators, with our policymakers to help them to understand that there is a newer, better, cheaper way of encouraging people to install distributed energy resources, renewable energy resources, and that peer-to-peer trading has to be a natural step in the evolution of the energy system. So the challenges really are at that conceptual level, and then having that play through to regulatory reform. But you know, while that's happening, we'll focus on those areas where we can do business. So in the strata market, in emerging economies like India, in the microgrid space as well. So there's plenty of work for us to do while we're knocking down walls in other parts of the energy system as well.
Fantastic. Well, it seems like you've got the Australian government seems to be quite on board with what you're trying to do. Obviously, we've got the Fremantle pilot project. Doesn't hurt that Dr. Green's now the mayor of Perth. That's I'm sure a bonus as well. But do you feel like you're quite supported by the Australian government and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think we are. I think the Australian government, and well, the departments we've spoken to anyway, I can't speak for the entire government, but there is a real acceptance that peer-to-peer energy trading is going to be a part of the energy future, and that if we're going to encourage people to stay connected to the grid, we've got to give them an economic incentive to do so. So the reality is for networks, particularly in Australia, where we have high-cost grid-supplied energy, is that it's getting cheaper and cheaper to provide your own or generate your own energy. And so we need to do something to encourage customers to stay connected, to maintain the vitality and the viability of existing networks. People are really, they are realising that now, and that's something that we're looking at across the board. And I think that the support for the project that we've got with the smart cities in Fremantle is indicative of at least the interest in understanding how this might work and how we might demonstrate or create the energy system of the future that's co-created by consumers as well as incumbent energy providers.
I think in so many ways that's what we actually see with the blockchain space, is that it's actually encouraging people to participate in so many ways. And there's projects, okay, run web hosting off your computer, or store data for people on your computer, or sell energy from your home. It's revolutionary. People will get paid to do the things they simply were doing before, but don't have to leave the house to do it.
In many respects, it's no different from Uber or Airbnb. You're giving people the opportunity to monetize their excess capacity. And so with the ability to sell your energy off your roof to your next door neighbour, that's really all you're doing, monetizing your excess capacity. And the way you've seen with Uber, that gives people the opportunity for new employment opportunities, new investment opportunities. So rather than just seeing it as an opportunity to sell my excess, well, maybe when I install PV panels on my roof, I can install twice as much as I actually need, because the revenue stream that I get from selling energy to my neighbour is a good return, it's a good investment. And from my neighbour's perspective, well, maybe their house points in the wrong direction. Maybe they're renting and they can't afford to put PV on their roof. Rather than being left behind and having to pay the increased cost of energy because other people are getting off the grid, I can sell in my energy at a cheaper rate than you can buy it from the network. Then we all win. And that's, that's the best way of maintaining the utilisation of the network and preserving the value of networks as social assets, but also the best way of encouraging participation in that distributed energy economy for people who otherwise couldn't afford to play a part.
Very, very cool. Now, the final thought of the day, perhaps, is I know when I talked to Dr. Green, they had a letter had been sent to Elon Musk. Has he responded? Are you guys going to be doing a collaboration in the future? Tesla meets Power Ledger, explosion to the moon kind of stuff?
Look, that would be great. And I think Gemma had her photo taken with Elon at a completely different function as part of a completely different role that she's involved in with a different group. And the online community took that and ran with it. So we have conversations with Tesla, but they're by no means mature. We'll keep having those conversations, and hopefully at some stage there is an opportunity to use Tesla storage as part of a product that we're developing. But there are other battery companies, there are all sorts of generating technologies, and we want to stay agnostic. We want to provide the platform that allows the owners of a Tesla battery or any other type of battery the ability to participate in a renewable energy economy. And so providing the platform rather than being tied to any particular technology or any partner is really the key for us, getting as many people involved in this distributed energy economy as possible.
That's awesome. Build the network and they will come. It's the ledger of dreams, we could call it.
I mean,
yeah, excellent. It's such an exciting project, and I think there's a really bright future ahead for Power Ledger. So it's really, really exciting times. Were there any other updates you wanted to kind of let us in on that you think has been happening around the Power Ledger?
Nothing specific that I can talk about now. I mean, the encouraging thing in all of that is we are having conversations. They are now being carried out under commercial terms. So they are, they're a little bit tougher. We're not just talking about trials now. We're actually talking about commercial deployment. So we need to make sure that they're nailed down, and we're doing the right thing by our commercial partners as well as by the investors in POWR tokens to make sure that when we make those announcements, we're sure about what we're announcing. We can follow it up. We can back it up. So those conversations are continuing, and when we get to a point where we can start to make announcements about new deployments, we'll do that. But we won't rush in and confuse the market by saying all sorts of things that can't be substantiated. So we will continue to inform the community around what we're doing, but we'll be circumspect about it and make sure that when we're saying we're going to do something, we're absolutely going to do it.
Fantastic. Well, David Martin, thank you so much for your time. This has been really interesting. I'm sure everyone out there is really going to appreciate it as well. So thank you so much.